Well, hello and welcome to Conversations. I'm Chris May. You know, it's been said that there is no greater calling than to serve your fellow man, and few people have heeded that calling more effectively than our guest today. We are joined by Rhonda Sanders, the Chief Executive Officer of Arkansas Food Bank. Rhonda, great to see you. Thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It's a real pleasure. For those who may not know, talk a little bit about the meaning, the mission, the purpose of Arkansas Food Bank.
Right. Well, the Arkansas Food Bank really is all about helping people find the food that they need in order to live a well-balanced life. And we do that in many different ways. We look towards acquiring food that maybe someone was throwing out, food that didn't market well, purchasing food, produce. We acquire it, we store it. Sometimes we process it and bag it. And then we send it out to 320 local agencies and 80 different schools in our 33 counties. So we really are a service organization that supports the local community.
I know that it's a mission that while it's endlessly rewarding, it also has to be endlessly challenging as well. And yet you and your staff, I know, get up every day with that goal in mind of stamping out hunger, of ending food insecurity. What motivates you and them to take on that fight?
I think when you actually go out and you hand a person a box of food and you see the look in their eyes, and often it's tears. And here lately, we've been shocked that the tears are coming again. During COVID, it was an everyday experience. But you see them have tears in their eyes of gratitude because they know that they'll be able to go home and provide something for their family tonight that they wouldn't have been able to do. You know, you really begin to go, oh, wow, what a difference this makes.
Yeah.
And then when you think about our own lives of how much it means to us to sit down and eat with friends, to eat with family. I mean, food is a central part of all of our lives. And what it brings us together around, how it helps us do the work we need to do, it is just such a key part of our lives. So, you know, you put those two together and you've got a good reason for doing the work.
That's pretty good motivation, indeed. Yeah. How would you describe people in our state who experience food insecurity? Because my guess is that the reality is probably much different than the perceptions that we have.
It really is. There are people who you would say chronically live with food insecurity. Sometimes they're often disabled, they have specific medical conditions, but most of the people that we serve are those that are in and out of food insecurity. That means it's someone who just lost their job and doesn't really know how they're going to make up that difference in their income. Or maybe they have just had a medical experience and they're having to pay off medical bills. A lot of times it's our older folks who are sitting at home and kind of juggling, do I pay for the electricity or do I make sure I've got food in the pantry? I think, though, the ones that surprise us the most are the ones that are really close to us and we don't even see it. I had a friend in college, which was many, many years ago, when we were all in college, and just getting out and getting on our feet. And I never realized it until about 3 years ago that she told me that she and one of the other young ladies in the dorm used our church food closet. And they were excited because they got a whole bunch of those canned biscuits. And they ate canned biscuits for like 2 weeks. Wow. And I was like, I never knew.
I had no idea.
I never had any idea that you were in that situation. She said, don't feel bad. My parents didn't know any either. I didn't tell anybody. And that is the classic picture of hunger, that people don't ever tell you. They're living in those situations. They're trying to figure out how to make ends meet. And they're sometimes your neighbors, your very close friends.
A powerful testimony. You partner, as you mentioned, with 400 community organizations, 33 counties in Central and South Arkansas. How does the process work? The food starts here and it gets to homes. How does it work?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of food sitting around out there that people aren't using. One of the biggest pieces we have right now is produce that is down in Texas, places that it's unmarketable. And so we'll acquire it. We get it from retail stores. Some of it we purchase. But we have a staff that works on acquiring food. That is exactly what they do. So we get that food. It comes into our building. We have our building's about 100,000 square feet. Most of it, the clear majority of it, is warehouse where we can store that food. We can put it in a refrigerator, freezer, whatever it needs to be in. And then our agencies that are out in these local communities can actually go online and see what we have and can acquire that food. So there's lots of different methods for them to get it. There's a lot of different types of food that we get, but that is the basic process. It comes in, and some of our food comes in, as you well know, and volunteers have to repack it.
Right.
We pack it into boxes for senior citizens. We pack it into backpacks. Produce, it just comes in huge totes of sweet potatoes, whatever that might be. We put it into the bags like you would see in your grocery store so that they're usable for families, and then those agencies acquire it.
And who is eligible for food from the food bank?
Our agencies are actually members of us, and so they apply. They pay a very small membership fee, and we try to look at where the need is great and work with those agencies. I will tell you, Pulaski County has a lot of agencies. We have some counties that only have one or two, so we're constantly working to get them to apply, but it has to be a nonprofit. We do work with some schools, but that is the number one requirement, is being a nonprofit and then being having a facility that meets the food safety handling requirements.
Okay. And then at that point, anyone is free to come in. There's no means testing, none of that.
No, you can come to those local agencies, and most of them have no eligibility whatsoever. Now, I will say government food, if it comes through commodities or something like that, will have some eligibility standards, but the general donated food does not. So someone may not qualify for a certain program, but they can always get something. Okay. And our agencies know people. I mean, they know who they are.
Speaking of 77% of your agencies are faith-based organizations. Why do you think that synergy exists? What's kind of the common purpose there?
Well, I think if you are a person of faith, you do believe that there is a certain obligation that we all have to serve our fellow mankind. And that's what you see in those faith-based organizations, is they're saying, I believe this is what the Bible calls on me to do, or whatever their faith background may be. They're calling on them to serve their communities. And that really is the centerpiece of it, because you're really saying, hey, I recognize there's people who are hungry, and I'm going to help the least of these to have what they need.
Do unto others,
That's
caring
right.
for neighbors.
And you never know when it will be you.
That's right. You never know for sure. It seems two big events have had an outsized impact on what you do, the first being the coronavirus pandemic. How significantly did that impact the ability of the food bank to do the kind of work that you want to do? It
was quite a game changer for us. I'll never forget that first day. I've been talking to staff, kind of saying it's coming, they're going to send the kids home from school. And then it happened. I think it was March 14th, if I remember correctly. It was a huge day. And so it really shifted the way we looked at what we did. Where before the coronavirus, we did a lot of food coming in and us just sending it out directly to agencies, and they did the packaging and boxing and all that. We completely changed our model immediately to where we did the boxing. We worked with local partners to just have hands-free, safe food distribution. So we pivoted immediately. What we were most concerned about, and ended up being a real blessing in the long run, was how would our community respond? Because at that point in time, we really didn't know what was going to happen. Right. Our community responded. They immediately knew, as they saw the lines of people waiting for food, that everyone needed help. And they overwhelmingly responded, which allowed us to acquire more food. It allowed us to work through the kinks in the system because we had to change. And it allowed us to actually move from 30 million pounds of food a year to 40 million pounds of food a year overnight.
That's amazing.
It was amazing. It really was. And I will say it was the community that made it happen, because they recognized the need that was there.
Well, and because the need did not change. In fact, the need probably increased.
It escalated tremendously. We were seeing 30% more people coming to our doors, and they were new people who had never used the system. So we had to do a lot of education. We had to think about how do we make this available to everyone. We had community partners that we'd never worked with that said, we'll put boxes in the back of cars, and we would send it up. One of our largest agencies shut down immediately. They served 500 people a week, and they shut down immediately because they were elderly.
Right,
And they didn't
okay.
need to be around it. So, it's like, okay, we got a punt here, and we did. We found new community partners who handed out those boxes and opened the trunks, and how we managed all of that. It was quite the need was unbelievable. The experience was overwhelming.
Great to be on this side
Yes.
of that. The other big impact, the other big event impacting the food bank, I know, is one that's ongoing, and that's inflation, problems in the supply chain as well. How have those two things made your work more difficult?
Well, we're just like anybody else. When you go to your grocery store and you see these shelves that are like, okay, one day you have canned drinks, the next day you don't, we're in the same boat. Whatever they're suffering from, we're suffering from that also. So the food that we may want to get and acquire, it may take 3 or 4 or 5 weeks longer, or it may not even be available at all. So we're struggling with those things. Inflation has brought the concern and the need back up again. And during COVID, we had the experience of kind of being a counselor at the same time as a helper. And the number of people who cried on our shoulders because they were getting something that they needed, we're back at that point again. We're back at that point again where we're doing mobile distributions and people are in tears because they've got some help. The cost of living, the cost of gas, the cost of food, everything has escalated to a point that, if you really were living on a lower income paycheck, there's not a lot of choices for you.
Well, I looked last night. A gallon of milk in June of 2018 was $2.83. Today it's $4.20.
Right.
That's hard enough on a family.
Yeah.
But when you're a food bank and you want to provide milk for hundreds, if not thousands of families, that's got to be almost prohibitive.
Oh yeah, it is. And our cost of that food, not only the supply chain, but the cost of it to us has increased substantially. We're paying 30% more. Canned goods, we used to could get an entire truckload of canned goods for, $30,000. It's $50,000 now, So that we're struggling, like I said, with the same thing that our families are struggling with, the others that are providing food are struggling with. We're dealing with that. But once again, I will say our community has been so helpful in recognizing, hey, this is hard on me, but I can still give a little and help those who it's really hard on.
Fantastic. Let me ask you about a couple of initiatives at Arkansas Food Bank. Summer feeding sites. What are they? Where are they? And how can we take advantage of them?
You can go on our website if you need to and find out about summer feeding sites.
ArkansasFoodBank.org.
ArkansasFoodBank.org, yes, thank you. We took a little different twist in our summer feeding program this year. Instead of actually doing the USDA program, we offered mini grants to groups who were doing that or other groups that are wanting to have a summer feeding initiative to help them feed kids. And so we've really been able to help some that their summer feeding site, just because you get reimbursed for the meals at a summer feeding site does not mean you have everything you need. So it's able to allow them to have the staffing that they need, allowing them to provide enrichment. We're also doing some very specific mobile distributions to some of the Boys and Girls Clubs in Central Arkansas. So that is a new initiative that we've taken on this summer to really help those sites have what they need.
Yeah, this was something I thought that COVID really brought to the forefront, was the number of kids who depend on their schools for their meals on a daily basis. Some of those schools were able to continue providing them during COVID, but not all. And so that's where programs like this can
really
step in.
help. And we're really pleased that they did pass the waiver and extend it so that those who are receiving that USDA reimbursement are able to do it on a broader scale. So we're real excited about that. And we appreciate our congressional delegation supporting that because it is something that does help our kids who are out of school.
Okay, summer feeding sites continue through August 9th,
That's
which
right.
pretty much takes you right up to the start of school. Another initiative is food and fund drives. How do those work?
Exactly. We love to have food and fund drives. Food drives are something that people really do enjoy doing. They get to go out, they touch the food, they feel the food, they bring it in, and you can see kind of the results of your work right there. And so we always encourage it. You can, once again, go on our website, arkansasfoodbank.org, and you can find out information about how to run a food drive and how we will, help you do that. And we're entering into that season also. When we enter the holiday season, people really enjoy it. We do want to encourage people, though, to recognize that fund drives, for every dollar that someone provides in funds, we can provide up to food for up to 5 meals. And we do that because we can buy in bulk, we can get enhanced donations, it pays for the transportation for food that is free. So just recognizing food drives are great and we love it, but on the other hand, you have your fund drives that can help us financially, and we can turn those dollars into a lot of food.
It is amazing how you can stretch that dollar and make it work. You have an amazing staff. We had a chance to spend time with them recently at a volunteer day. They play a critical role for what you do. Talk about your staff and your volunteers.
Yeah. Oh, it takes all of us, and our volunteers are just about like staff. We have some longtime volunteers that actually come weekly. And they're just as much of a partner with us as our paid staff is. We love our volunteers. We need our volunteers because they help us actually sort millions of pounds of food and turn it into something that's usable for our agencies and for families. So we can't do it without them. Do love my staff, though. They come every day, rarely complain. They go out in mobile distributions in this heat. They are working in the warehouse in the heat. Our drivers have the best stories you could ever ask for. They love it when they get to go and see those kids' faces light up because they're bringing them backpack food. So, our staff is well trained. They love what they do. They're very mission oriented.
If people are out there and want to get involved, want to play a role in Arkansas Food Bank, how do they do it?
Very easy. Go to that good old website,
It's got it all.
arkansasfoodbank.org, and you can find on that website where to volunteer. There's a drop-down box that will tell you about the different volunteer opportunities, and you can actually sign up online. You can see what's available. If you want to do a fund drive, you can also find on the website how you want to give, how you want to do a food bank. We've got, a food drive. We've got information there. So go to that website. It's key. If you can't do the website, you can always call us at 501-565-8121. And tell them who you want to talk to. I want to talk to them about volunteers. I want to talk to you about giving, and they'll get you to the right person.
Perfect. Of course, we can't forget KATV's partnership with
right.
Arkansas Food Bank. We call it Sinclair Cares Summer Hunger Relief. You can scan the QR code that's on your screen right now, or go to sinclaircares.com. If you want to contribute. Rhonda, tell them a little bit about this program and what it will ultimately accomplish.
We are part of Feeding America, which is a national network of 200 food banks all across the nation. And Feeding America really started this initiative with Sinclair and have promoted it to benefit all of us at the local level. And I'm very proud of what our local Sinclair station has done. Y'all have gone above and beyond, one, just talking about it like this on the news, recognizing the importance of it, raising awareness, coming and volunteering. But that initiative will add funds and opportunities through Feeding America back to us. And they support us in many different ways. We're so proud to be a Feeding America food bank. And so that initiative is how you can help us through this Sinclair.
And our goal is for 1 million meals this summer, which is amazing to think about.
Problem.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Okay, I didn't want to read off your entire resume, Rhonda,
no.
but indulge me for just a moment.
Yes.
You came to Arkansas Food Bank from the Hunger Relief Alliance. Prior to that, Arkansas Advocates for Children and Families. You were at the Arkansas Department of Health, where you were director of the Child Health Planning Project and the assistant director of the Women, Infants, and Children Program, or WIC. Arkansas Children's Hospital prior to that. Your career, your life seems to be all about service. Service to the vulnerable, to women, to children. Where did that desire to serve come from?
I really think it was the way I was raised. My dad was a Baptist minister and loved his flock, loved serving. I learned it from them and I saw it every day of my life. Also got to live in a lot of different places and see how things were done differently outside of Arkansas. But this was home. I came back home, and this is where I stayed. I worked a little bit in for-profit and knew that wasn't quite for me. I really loved the mission, and that is what has drawn me to the nonprofit work and service, and it is my way of giving back, and I feel very strongly about it. I give back in my career, but I also try to give back personally wherever I am, in my church, in my community, to help others.
Well, you've been a great inspiration and a
Well,
great
thank
leader,
you.
and we thank you so much for
Thank
the
you so
conversation
much.
today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Rhonda, great to see you. Our guest has been Rhonda Sanders, the Chief Executive Officer of Arkansas Food Bank. That's Conversations for this time. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like our videos and subscribe to the page, and we hope to see you for our next conversation.